So Paul, tell me about today. What's your thoughts about today's conference?
Paul, one of the things I enjoy about these sessions is the diversity of people here, because you get to see communications from lots of different angles. So we had people from charities, people from big banks, people from consultancies, people from Philips. So I like the fact that he brings different views into the room on common problems.
So did you think that there were any particular issues that were common across these sort of diverse group of people?
Change technology, or change and technology as an enabler.
Okay.
So I think that was the theme.
Tell me more.
Tell me more. What I liked about the technology piece is that we need to be really mindful of the fact that I work for BP. We have a big global audience, and it's really hard to engage folk. Really hard to engage folk. People naturally tune out. So I think technology is a really interesting way of doing it. Where I struggle is where you have people on rigs, people on ships, and where 90% of them don't have access to regular email. We have, I'll give you an example which I heard from a Brazilian colleague the other day, where they're trying to engage in alternative energy, where we've bought these big biofuel plantations. They now teach people on the buses, because it takes an hour to get from the kind of refinery plant to the fields. They have about an hour where they actually put on the TVs and they go around and they talk to them, because it's a captive audience. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting actually, because I remember a few years ago I was doing some work in South America, and in South America literacy is not as complete in society as it would be in perhaps other societies. And one of the techniques that we were using was to provide information to children of employees in a format that they could actually share with their parents. And it's a really interesting idea, isn't it? That actually what you do is you go to where, if you need to present something, well, you need to go to the point of literacy. And if you're at that point of literacy, then in a familial way, people start to learn and engage with it.
Is that because the children are having a better level of education than their parents?
Exactly.
So in a way, the children become the kind of ambassadors?
Exactly. And of course, the parents are very proud of the fact that their children have that education. And as a result, they're very proud of the fact their children help them to engage and learn with their companies. Now, of course, you think about it from another point of view. Companies, I think, you always think about engaging with your employees. The reality is the best place of engaging with your employees is effectively around the dinner table. It's around the point where the family of that employee is there, because the pride, the acknowledgement of the success of the organisation is probably best encapsulated there. And just to use a really interesting example, I did a lot of work in France, and you need to find that sort of point of intersection. And I did some work with acquisitions in France. And what we found was that the most discussion took place, but this is again a cultural thing, in the bar on the way home from work. And so that is where
that's the sweet spot.
That's the analysis of what the manager said, the understanding of what the package was all done in the bar. And so what we did was we tried to organise the communication so that we knew that the next part of it, we actually set a series of questions at the end of it, which we knew then they'd go off to the bar and they would talk about it in the bar on the way home.
Do you know what? That's a lovely example of cultural sensitivity, because we kind of assume that everybody does similar things, but actually it's a million miles from it.
Absolutely.
For example, if I bring home work for my wife, would just shut me down. She would shut me down. I've worked for the company for too long. So it's interesting how that pride manifests itself, and in what situations.
Yeah. Well, I was talking a little earlier about the whole cool dad syndrome. Okay, in the test of this new technology and how you engage with employees, the real test is when you go home and you show it to your kids. Because if you end up being in a cool dad place, then they say, wow, Dad, what a great company you work for. But I have a couple of teenagers at home. That's quite a hard thing
to
win them over.
That's an impossible ask.
Well, no, it's not, you see, because I tell the story of my daughter was talking to me about Snapchat. And I was saying, well, what's Snapchat? What is that? So she said, well, let me show you, this, and this is what it is. And she got her phone out. So I said, okay, fine, I'll join. I'll have a Snapchat conversation with you. And I So I joined, and as you join, it brings automatically brings in people you know who are members of Snapchat, and there of the
in terms of online. So
it
have
finds the connections, which is very
which are
clever.
live.
But of course, you then look at this, and then you see there's only 3 because at my age, there's not. One of them's the chief executive of Philips, and he's on Snapchat. Well, my daughter was saying, "Wow, what a great company you work for!"
The chief exec.
The chief exec is there.
With
on
you
Snapchat.
and your daughter.
Yeah, and I think
That could be a career-defining moment.
how cool is that? And so she's saying, "Well, Daddy, that's really what kind of company do you work for?" Franz, as you know, he's on Snapchat.
So does it find people that you've got a relationship with, or does it look for common links? Such
I think it looks at your address book and then says, "Are those connected?" I honestly don't know, but there were only 3, and he was one of them. So it was really cool.
The CEO was actually what a great story.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've never had the courage to ask him about it.
Can you be in the lift together and you're like,
okay, Franz.
we were talking about what colour we could brand the new XYZ.